Hi there. It's another DCD Talks. Today it's DCD Talks Power with Calvin Nicholson at Legrand. Calvin, how you doing?
I'm doing great, George. How are you doing?
Not bad. It's been a long time since we've seen each other, right?
It has been, yes, yes, yes.
I think our journey started probably 15 years ago. Uh, uh,
It's
um,
pretty close to that when I was running the marketing for server technology. Yep, yep. And you guys were kind of just starting out, I think.
Absolutely. So, what a journey it's going to be. We're going to talk about that journey today because you've been through some changes. DCD's been through some changes, and the industry's been through some changes. So, those of you that don't know Calvin, Calvin is a director of product management at Legrand. He works at the power division, and as he said before, we first knew each other at Server Technologies, which is a business that was acquired by Legrand recently. And I'll ask Calvin about that. Maybe we'll start off there, Calvin. You
Sure,
met
absolutely.
many
It's been
colleagues.
it's been an interesting journey. So, server technology was purchased by Legrand near the end of 2017. And it was also interesting because before that, Legrand had purchased another PDU manufacturer called Raritan that we competed quite aggressively against, and so it was very interesting as part of that acquisition. In the end, it really brought the two most innovative technology progressive companies, I guess you could say. Both companies had really good core competencies in developing unique and custom products. And if you fast forward to today on the power PDU side, we're the largest global PDU supplier for intelligent PDUs in the world now.
Can,
So,
can you tell me a bit about the journey? To those that don't know, PDU is a pretty important part of a data center these days, and you've used the word smart as well, smart PDU. Can you tell me how that product has evolved from when you were first knocking them out at ServerTech so many years ago up to today? How's the technology changed, and how's the importance to it to IT changed?
yeah, it's interesting because the PDU has always been part of the critical physical infrastructure, right? If the PDU doesn't supply power to all the devices because it sits in the back of the cabinet, the whole data center obviously doesn't function. What has happened is that there has been advancements in the technology, both on the metering and the monitoring side, which we'll talk about, and on the outlet in that side. So um, densities continue to go up, not as much as you would think, but KW goes up and the number of required outlets has gone up. There have things that have slowed it down a little bit, from the original report to Congress in 2008, where the sky was falling and data centers were using 2% of the world's power. And if it kept going, we were going to have rolling blackouts and all that. A lot of virtualization and consolidation, a lot of patent power supplies, and a lot of things. But the KW does continue to go up because the need for compute goes up. So some of the things we did was we went out and we developed our own patented outlet technology. We knew we needed to get more outlets into a smaller space because the number of devices were increasing in the cabinet, along with the KW. We also knew that it was very difficult in selecting a PDU and the types of PDUs and the number of outlets and the types of outlets. So we developed what we call an H.CX outlet, which is an outlet that can take it can act as either a C13 or a C19. So in many cases, instead of having 2, 3, 4, 5 different PDU types, you can have one or maybe two PDUs that cover all your applications. So we've advanced not only the hardware side, we're adding mechanical locking as a feature as well. So you don't need locking cords as an example. On the metering and monitoring, we continue to increase the accuracy of the products. And on the controller, the intelligence just continues to expand, whether it's open APIs or local displays or all the other things to get the information out there. We're doing some advanced trending. We're doing some waveform capture. We're doing some power quality metrics. It's really come a long ways from when we first started, and a lot of our customers have driven that with their requests.
So it's interesting, customers. That's at the base of everything here. how's the customer changed? How's the facility changed that you're serving from 2005 to today? There's been tremendous change, right, in scale, in densities. But how do you typify that?
Well, it's interesting because from a manufacturer, like I mentioned, we see the KWs going up over time. We see the outlet counts going up over time, but the environment has changed radically, right? Early on, if you looked at virtualization and consolidation, and people were consolidating 10 to 1, I thought, well, geez, I'm in the wrong business. We're going to go out of business, right? But what happened? The thirst and demand for compute continued to explode. You fast forward to some of the cloud stuff today, and I think our original thoughts really were, well, data center space is data center space. But we've learned that's completely different. It's completely different philosophy. If you look at kind of the top 5, let's say, cloud providers in the world, each one has a very different approach as to how they're implementing their solutions, and therefore the products that they demand for us, as an example. And then now we're seeing some other transitions on the 5G. We're seeing huge demand for the neg 48 volt and the DC products, a really resurgence there. On the edge, we're seeing some different changes there with product demand. So it's continuously evolving and changing. And to say that data center space is data center space, they're going to need the same thing, really couldn't be any farther from the truth.
Really interesting. So the ideas of standardization, in fact, the opposite's happening in many cases. You need more of everything. I remember years ago, people would say in the future, there are going to be more bigger data centers or more smaller data centers. And there's going to be more of every data center in the future. And they're all going to be different. That's happening, right?
Yes, it is. It definitely is. And it's amazing to see. And we've been lucky enough to grow and really, we partner with most of these organizations. Again, we provide a lot of custom solutions because they've got custom needs or demands. And often some of those features can be used in our regular day-to-day line. We've also really went with a modular design, both because of the demands changing and the custom products. And we know that there's a distinct advantage in the market if you can have quick lead times, which has led to modular PDUs. It's led to really going on the website, answering 4 or 5 questions, and really spitting out a data sheet and a PDU model that we can deliver in most cases in 2 weeks or less, as an example. So there's been really some innovative things that the market has forced us to do, but ultimately have been really good for our business.
So you mentioned before things like you're seeing a resurgence in DC power. Now, I'd like a bit of color on that, because the other day I was speaking with someone and they were poo-pooing the idea. That was one person. And then I spoke with a very eminent engineer that said, oh, with the rack densities we're seeing, why wouldn't you be using DC power? Where are you seeing it?
Well, there's philosophy there, right? Some of that business is obviously just the traditional neg 48 volt telco, right? We understand that. We've had a product for a long, long time. Actually, even before the traditional 0U vertical AC PDUs, we were manufacturing these neg 48 volt DC products. Now we're seeing demand for positive DC products, and we're seeing demand for custom PDUs that are powering a large number of power supplies in the cabinet. And then those power supplies in the cabinet are providing a DC power supply to the devices. So kind of a open compute inspired type design. A lot of the big guys are doing it in scale, and so they can, and it has been very efficient for them. Not everybody's doing it, but again, we've got to service all of our customers, and so we've really got a toe in the water on all those things.
So can you tell me a bit about, Servotech was sold to, and listeners, may I just say, there's a place in my heart for Servotech and all their employees, because as Calvin said at the beginning, we spent many years traveling around the world with a flag called data centers all over the world when people didn't even know what they were. So we were in new markets all of the time, and it was a really interesting time. But anyway, that's history. But coming into the transition, 2017, you went to Legrand. how was that transition into a much bigger business? You were a family-owned business, highly successful one, but still family-owned, and then you went
Yes.
into a much more corporate environment.
Yeah, and it was interesting. Believe it or not, in my career, it was the third time that I had been involved with the organization, had been purchased by a very large global company. So I knew there was going to be some changes. Many of them have been very good because there's a lot of synergies and a lot of working together. There was a challenge, obviously, getting on the same page with our counterparts within Raritan. Overall, though, I think that went very smooth when we've really leveraged the best of the technologies from both groups. Raritan's very, very successful in the KVM market. As an example, Server Tech has done very well on the DC products. We've merged a lot of technologies, and we're actually working on a new common platform right now. Overall, the Legrand philosophy is in some ways to grow through acquisition. So very huge Q when they purchased the Starline group, Universal Electric. And we also had some data center or cabinet companies, like AFCO is an example, and Structure Cable Group. So what has really happened is overall, Legrand has taken all the data center centric products and put them in a group called DPC, and now we're all working together on opportunities and integrations and making sure that we can really best provide products and really service our customers. So and I'm sure there's more companies that are going to be coming, and as we continue to grow the data center group, and I think it's been a very good group for Legrand overall.
Cool. Where do you see, you've mentioned companies there, and it's interesting. Names are flicking up. Actually, I did an interview recently with Mark Swift
Yes.
over at Starline, who we both know for many years. When you said AFCO, I remember John Consoli.
Yes. Yep.
Like a little dream team, my dream team, my data center dream team, Calvin. But you're bringing together these different areas of technology that have been islands and competing islands. You're working with Raritan. That sounds very interesting. With these other organizations, as you come together, where do you see the opportunity? You're in product management, so I guess you get time to spend time with other product managers that are seeing other things. Where do you see the opportunity next from an integration perspective?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, first, when we got acquired, there was just the regular integration. Do we work well with the KVM products, right? Do we make sure that that's all buttoned up? So there was a lot of things like that. We also do some transfer switches. Which transfer switch line would we go with? We also do some inline metering for large SANs or large storage cabinets that don't have intelligent PDUs. So first, it was kind of a consolidation and justification of the lines, what made sense. Then it was looking at the technologies. I mentioned the H.dot outlets and how we would propagate that through both brands. And now we've come full circle on the PDU side of really all the engineering groups working on a common platform, which is going to be something we're going to have next year, and it's going to be amazing. You mentioned our good friend Mark Swift. I remember doing presentations with him at AFCOM when they introduced plugins that had fuses and just so yes, we've worked together very well. So now we have a lot of very large mutual customers. They're looking at their whole power chain, and they're saying, wouldn't it be neat if we could do this, or could we do this, or it'd be easier I could do this, or maybe I could save money if we changed how the plugin worked, or we looked at how the PDU connected, or whatever it happened to be. So those are things that we're actively working on, and obviously, I talked to Mark much more than I have in the past, and it's been great. You're right. And on the cabinet side with John Consoli, John has been in DSIM. He's been in a number of different companies. He's back in cabinets. And so we're making sure that the cabinets work right with the PDUs. They fit in the cabinets. There's flexible mounting, whatever it happens to be. We're trying to really tighten up those things so when the customer gets a solution, they don't have problems and things really go easily. And that goes all the way from containment all the way through, again, to simple things. How does a PDU mount in the cabinet is an example. So it's been interesting.
I've got a little smile across my face. I'm remembering a story with Mr. Consoli about the name for AFCO Systems. And I can't remember whether it's an urban myth or not. I'm sure he told me, but it was another word, cabinet order. Because he used to say they used to keep on getting this was so back more than 20 years ago, orders from banks on Manhattan Island asking for these cabinets for their computers because they were doing all sorts of different things. It wasn't a business line for them, right?
Sure. No, I'm laughing because I understand that.
Cabinet order, right? That's what we'll call this company. He can confirm that or not another time. But hey,
Yes, yes. If you get a chance, you should watch some of his little fireside chats that he does. It's he's in a chair and the fire's in the background, and he's talking about cabinets and containments, and it's quite entertaining. I always tease him about it.
So you mentioned that common platform. So when a company acquires companies, you're acquiring as well their future black book of innovation, right? And then you're bringing these people together. I guess it's not a physical space. Is this just a way of working together, an understanding of development that's coming online next year?
Yeah, no, it's going to be a true ground up engineer design platform. And we're really going to leverage, we've got engineers in New Jersey, we've got engineers in Reno, we've got engineers in Taiwan, we've got a huge team in Germany. And so it's really getting all those different groups to work together and leverage what has worked, the experience. We understand in releasing a new product that it has to be thoroughly tested. We understand dealing with customers that have had some challenges and the test environments we've had to recreate within our own facilities. So when we create a new platform, we can really take things through the ringer. So it's a little bit of, well, in our experience, we saw this. Well, in our experience, we saw that. And really taking all those things into account and going, okay, this is what we're going to develop and why. These are the specification it needs to meet. And this is the testing we're going to do to make sure that when we release a product, it'll work in the environments. And so it's an installation of, I don't know how many, I guess in theory, hundreds of years of experience working in data centers. And it's fun to kind of, after 2 or 3 years now, kind of have that whole group really marching in a common direction. It's amazing what you can get done. So a lot of the modularity and a lot of those things that have been tried and true are we're staying with. But we have a very designed structure. We use a lot of circuit boards. We stay away from cable assemblies as much as we can. We stay away from fast-ons. We are consolidating a number of circuit boards into a single module to help with reliability and cost. So it's really not only an engineered solution, but it's a reliability, quality, design for manufacturability solution of all the experience from the extremely strong strength in Raritan and the extremely strong strength in server technology kind of coming together.
Okay, that sounds very, very powerful, right? When you look from a business context, bringing these different organizations together and doing that. So I look forward to seeing how you get on next year, even maybe doing talking more about the lab at some stage. I can't help thinking, that we haven't spoken about, is it the elephant in the room? When we did our prep call, we were talking about COVID, and it's been a year that's changed things from many perspectives, right? So we've heard from a vendor community, there's been supply chain issues at the beginning, but still people were ramping up for capacity. But there's been a real remote management issue come to light, right? You've got many colos working with half workforces, maintenance schedules being changed. The ability to see what's going on in the rack from a distance has really become paramount. How are you seeing that? Are there new pressures you've seen, or has it simply been clients using more of the capabilities that you've put into these into your technology?
No, that's it, and that's a great point. And I hate these terms. We see these things, the new normal, and some of those. It drives me crazy. But certainly the environment's changed, right? When things first hit, it was very much try and do secure and make sure we can meet our customers' demand, right? We were having the same supply challenges I think that the rest of the world was having. And we were trying to fix those, yet we had some of our largest customers wanting us to get on the phone and fill out surveys. And can you guarantee how is this going to affect your lead times? We weathered that very well, I think, and really got through that. And then the true reality came out, right? Because it's always been significant in colos. The remote, you have to get in your car, go there, get onto the get to where the buildings is, get in the building. Then you've got to get through the regular security. Then you've got to get through a man trap. Then you got to get to your cage, right? So if they weren't doing monitoring solutions or not taking it as serious, it's really changed now. Not only in understanding what's going on, because the guy that went to the colo as an example, maybe he did it weekly or monthly, now hasn't been there in 6 months. For the colo facility itself, it may be that somebody entered the building, they had been exposed. They want to know exactly where they went in the building, right? So we're seeing a lot more demand for our camera solutions. We're seeing a lot more demand for just meeting SLAs like temperature and humidity, and then there's always been a demand for remote reboot and shut off within the environments, but it's kind of being taken to the next level, more remote configuration of the PDUs. So we're just seeing that really kind of on steroids. So yes, it has changed. People that took the time to do that, and it's many of our customers, are now really reaping the advantages of that. And we're getting more and more questions. I'm doing this, but can it do this? Or how much easier would it be to do this? Or I'm trying to provision this remotely, whether it's through a script or whether it's through an open API, whether it's through zero-touch provisioning. So a lot of the tools that we've really put into place, I think, are being utilized much more than they have in the past because of what's going on in the world today. So
yeah, it's been a driver and an accelerator. It's interesting times we live in, Calvin.
Yes, yeah. To put it mildly, I guess it's not necessarily in a good way. So,
hey, thanks for talking to me today. It's a shame we haven't caught up this year. It's probably the first year in a long time we haven't seen each other in the flesh.
Yes, that's a good point. You're absolutely right. So,
but hopefully next year, second half of next year, maybe DCD New York in June or something like that, we'll be able to have a beer and catch up.
Yes, I'm chomping at the bit. I hope things with these vaccines and everything, things start to get back to normal. So we'll see.
In the meantime, keep safe. Have a good holiday. And
Yes.
we look forward to what 2021 brings us.
You too. Thank you.